Hello, and welcome. This is 15 Minutes of Fame. My name is Robert Voisey, and I am the director. And I put together these 15 one-minute works from contemporary composers, and we put it here live online. So thank you for being here. We're happy to have you. We will be presenting, or we're featuring Danielle Kuntz, a fabulous harpist, and presenting the works of 15 composers, of which we have 5 of them here today. Please feel free to participate in the comments and ask me any questions below. After the performance, we'll have a small panel discussion, and we'd love to hear from you and answer some of your questions that you might have about the pieces or the composer or the artist. So today we are featuring Danielle Kuntz. As a classically trained harpist, Danielle Kuntz has always gravitated towards new and little performed music. Fueled by her desire to make the harp inaccessible to composers, she has built a growing library of harp writing resources and tutorials. Danielle also collaborates with composers around the world and aims to make her resources available to student composers as well. She is an advocate for new music within the harp community and seeks to encourage harpists to move beyond their comfort zone and explore new music. She holds Masters in Music and Harp Performance from the University of North Texas and is currently residing in Ann Arbor, Michigan. You can find more about her at her website, daniellekuntz.com. The link will be down below. So again, this is 15 Minutes of Fame. And what we do is we put together a call for scores for composers to write for specific musician and instrument. In this case, it's for harp. And we get lots of submissions from around the world, and then we have a sort of selection process and where we choose 15 pieces to present for you. Our first piece that we're going to have here is from David Bohn, and let's and let's cue that up.
Hi everyone, I'm Anneloes. My normal name is Anneloes, but for English speaking it's really difficult to pronounce, so I'll be gentle with you guys, and it's Anneloes from the Netherlands. I write for harp since the second lockdown here. I thought, let's learn something I can do when all our orchestras are closed and I can write for an hour, I'll be sure that I can write music for the coming winter. So I rented a lever harp. And I must say that the harp completely changed the way I thought about intonation, because tuning is a thing you do a lot when you have a harp. And also you can tune it really great. I also have a piano, but it's always a bit out of tune, and a harp you can always tune, so I love the harp. And I got a lot of stuff going on, preparing. Let's see, like this. So you can prepare with all kinds of hair things, and I don't know what you can imagine, anything, and you can put it on the harp and have special effects. I really like that. But in the end, I decided that the most beautiful way a harp sounds is with just the 4 fingers. And that's the clue to writing for the harp, is just write for 4 fingers, 2 times 4 fingers, and remember that they have 2 left hands and not a right and a left one. So thank you so much for playing my music. I hope you will like the Unbirthday song. I called the song Unbirthday song because, as you see, I'm not the youngest of composers on the list probably. And I really like the idea of being a young composer, because I've only been writing for 3-4 years. It's been a wild journey and I really like it. So thank you so much for performing my music, and enjoy the harp, everyone. It's an amazing instrument. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pablo Fedele. I'm a composer, musician, and visual artist. I live in Miami, South Florida. The music I wrote for Danielle is titled Fantasy Number 1. It's inspired by the wind in a winter morning. And what I wanted to do with this music is to catch the feeling that I had when I was listening to this breeze going on. So it was flowing, but at some point there was little movements that were happening at that moment. So what I did is to use a melody that I could reuse all the time, and with different permutations and retrograde movements. So in that way, what I did is to repeat that melody several times in different ways. And also, at the very end, when I chose to use a couple of chords that would just make you feel that everything was getting really, really calm. And that's why I use just one chord at the end, that it's an open ending, because it doesn't resolve. And that's what I wanted to do, because I wanted to express the feeling that that wind might come back. So that's why the open ending, that's why I didn't resolve the melody and the chords, the harmony. It's not exactly resolving. So I want to thank everyone and congratulate all the composers that are participating in this concert. And especially, I want to thank Danielle for playing our music, for taking the time to study our music and perform it. And also, Robert, thank you very much for organizing this concert. We need these performances. We need to express ourselves with music and get our music performed. So thank you very much for making this happening. And just a big thank you for everyone. And I hope everything is great. Bye-bye.
A wonderful performance so far. Thank you, Danielle. I want to bring on the next composer, Josh Trentadue. Hold on. The music of composer and conductor Josh Trentadue explores philosophical and spiritual views on humanity, nature, and life itself, balancing contemporary and evocative textures with unconventional and experimental soundscapes. An advocate of new music, he seeks to provide immersive and engaging experiences for performances and audiences everywhere. And without further ado... Hi, Josh.
Hi, Robert. Thanks
How
so
are
much
you?
for having me for this. I'm good. How are you?
It's a pleasure to have you. Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about your piece that you wrote for Danielle?
Absolutely. So, where I live in the state of Connecticut, typically during the winter time, it's not often that we get snow around here. I'm closer to the coast in comparison to more north of the state where they get more snowfall there. But usually during the winter time, in the few years I've lived here, we've mostly had rain. if anything else. And if we've had snow, yes, but usually the snow showers don't last for very long if they're here. And if they do, then the snow doesn't stick around for long because it's usually pretty warm. So around the time that I wrote this piece, that was basically the weather we were getting. So my inspiration for this really was to write something that was sentimental in nature, appreciating the beauty of these snowfalls, even if they don't last for very long. And because of that, this piece also is really left unresolved in the end, as you'll hear in a way, because it's the idea I was going for was the idea really of just longing for more of that snow, to have it actually stick around for longer, really, as if capturing some wistful, nostalgic childhood memory of places I used to live in where snow sticks around for weeks or months at a time. Ironically, 2 weeks after I finished this piece, Mother Nature decided to prove me wrong and give Connecticut 15 inches of snow. But that's a story for another day. And yeah, so thank you, Robert, once again for organizing this concert and for programming this piece and all of the other works by these fantastic composers. I'm really honored to be included in this program today. Thank you, Danielle, for premiering this piece today and performing it. I'm really excited to hear this. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in and joined us for the live stream today. It means a lot to me. So I hope you enjoy this premiere of A Short Lullaby for a Short Snowfall. Thank you so much.
Let's hear it.
Hello, I'm Kevin Rose, and I'm delighted to be part of today's selection of works performed by Danielle Kuntz and this installation of the 15 Minutes of Fame project. The idea for Ice to Water came to me as I was looking out of my office window and watching the thawing of a recent snowfall that had blanketed the ground. Of course, I couldn't actually see the thawing in my brief glance, but I knew that the quiet, kind of still landscape I was watching was, in fact, in constant motion and flux. And if I could slow myself down and be a bit more patient, perhaps I could then see or even hear its movement. At the same time, I was considering the harp itself. I was and am struck by both the versatility and physicality of the instrument. However, I wanted to express this in a way that matched the subtlety of the melting snow. So over limited harmonic material, there's delicate changes in the articulation and dynamics, and I use gestures like knocking on the instrument itself to create a more diverse landscape. Similarly, I wanted the working of the instrument to be heard, so like the changes of the pedals to be an essential part of the work and the sonic landscape of the work. So in many ways, it's both a meditation on the nature and as well as the nature of the instrument itself. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy.
Great. Awesome. Next, I would like to bring on Sebastian. Sebastian Zanchek is a 19-year-old composer and computer science student from Germany who is particularly interested in the subject of perception of music. Gradual processes and a focus on subtle playing with timbre often play a central role in his compositions. And let's bring on Sebastian. Hi, Sebastian.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing great. Enjoying the concert so far.
Thank you. Sebastian, why don't you tell us a little bit about this piece that you wrote for Danielle?
Yes, sure. So when I was writing this piece, I initially just went on a bunch of websites and YouTube videos just to check out what kinds of sounds the harp can actually produce. And harp can do a bunch of extended techniques, but I'm generally not that much of a fan of these particularly noisy techniques. And especially when I was listening to examples of like étoufflé and sort of staccato notes, I found it very interesting that you kind of stop the string, and yet there's this resonance of other strings. And so I thought I would try and play around with that on my piece, and I came up with this 1 minute thing.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's listen to see how it came out.
Curious to see how the resonances will work.
Me too. Hold on. Let's bring on Danielle. I think that was pretty successful. So our next composer is Peregrine Wade. Born in London to an English father and a French mother, Peregrine Wade struggled with an undiagnosed hearing problem for many years. His scientific studies and his passion for filmmaking has resulted in a very structured approach to music that still remains highly motivated by storytelling. Let's bring on Peregrine.
Hi.
Hey!
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty well, actually. I had the major stage fright, but it's beginning to wear off now after like all the waiting around.
Well, yeah, we're all welcoming here. No need to be scared. So Peregrine, why don't you tell us a little bit about this piece and how you came to writing it?
Wow. Actually, Danielle told me about this good call for scores because I'd already worked with her. Like I'd written a piece, in the context of her harp workshop that she'd done last year, and that was a very involved piece, and I was basically trying out lots of things, and basically it was and using a short film as the basis for that. And so when this idea came around, well, this was like a 1 minute. So I thought it was really interesting because there was another opportunity to practice writing for harp, and I really wanted to get better. So basically, the 1 minute constraint meant that I decided to make it very goal oriented. Basically I wanted to write something that could be put in a movie at a point in a film where to help convey something. And at first I wanted to make it very specific, like very specific to the scene. But then I thought, why not do something a bit more ambiguous? Why not do something, take advantage of the instrument to convey physiological sensations that would help you sort of get into the skin of a character as they are undergoing something. And so this frisson, which is literally like a sort of a shivery sensation, it's intended to sort of portray a moment where a character is having like an emotion that they can't necessarily put words to. It's more of a primal feeling that they are having in reaction to something that's happening to them. And so around that word, so I had that word frisson, and I had that idea of what it should be. And then I sort of looked at different harp techniques that would help me convey that. So the first thing that came to mind was bisbigliando, which is a kind of a whispering effect, that you can do, which for me really conveyed that idea. And then I wanted secondary techniques to use, something a bit more, lighter, something that would contrast and that would have a kind of a very transparent quality, very and so I thought about pedal slides, and then I thought about harmonics, and then I decided, wait, those two things sound similar to me. Why not have to combine the two? And then from there on, I was like, if I'm using pedal slides, then maybe I should make the pedal slides have an effect, have a purpose. So I decided I would modulate from C major to C flat major, which is a half step modulation. And it's funny because a half step modulation is something that happens a lot at key moments in a film score. Like you've probably all heard moments like those in John Williams' score, or in like a more classical kind of the score. But so to have that sort of movement by half step modulation, even though it's only on a solid instrument, it still has that effect of taking us somewhere very far away. So this is very much a transition, piece of music that acts as a transition, that this character goes through something and they are changed by it, and and they don't know what words to put to this emotion. So it's more just like goosebumps, basically. And so that all fell together, and I made this, wrote this 1 minute piece. And well, I'm really glad. I'm really happy. I'm surprised and happy that it got selected, actually. And I'm really grateful to Danielle and to you, Robert, for making this possible.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to hearing it. Let's bring on Danielle. Wow, gave me chills. And so our next composer that I wanted to bring up, Dionicio. Dionicio Aguirre Trevino is a Monterey-based composer who enjoys writing electroacoustic and acousmatic and chamber music, exploring the shared world between Western art music, folkloric tradition, and the interplay of cultural, linguistic, and religious expressions, while still focusing in an intense expression of the self. And let's bring in Dionicio. Hi, how's it going?
It's going fine. A little bit nervous.
No need to be nervous. We're all friends here. Tell us a little bit about your piece that you wrote for Danielle.
Yeah, sure. So when I first heard about Cole, I was thinking at the moment, I was thinking of the effect that culture has on how an instrument sounds, rather how we perceive an instrument sounds. So researching a little bit, I found out that most of what we think harp sounds like has to do with the with like a cultural affinity of the harp with the divine. For example, gods like Apollo in Greek culture and heroes like Orpheus played the lyre, which is like a little harp. And in Christian culture, the harp is the instrument of choice for angels. So, in this train of thought, I thought, well, sure, the divine has to do with harp, and as a result of that divinity being associated with harp, it tends to be like lush, calm, heavenly, let's say. But there's more divinities than that. So I chose to represent the divinity of the god of Exodus in the harp, specifically based in a single fragment of the Bible, if I can read. It came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the shofar exceeding loud and terrifying, so that all the people that were in the camp trembled. And the title of the piece translates to exceedingly loud and terrifying. So I wanted to represent this very terrifying divinity that's not cold, that could be interpreted as lush, as romantic, but for the harp, going as far away as I could from the usual sound of the harp to represent this very different divinity, right?
Sounds awesome. Well,
let's see how it turns out.
Let's see how it turns out.
Buongiorno a tutti, sono Sandro Montalto. Mi scuso per la mia incapacità purtroppo di inviare un video in lingua inglese, ma volevo comunque brevemente ringraziare Vox Novus per l'originale ed efficace formula con cui promuove la musica contemporanea, l'esecutrice che darà vita alla mia pagina con intelligenza e sensibilità e tutti voi che ascolterete. Il mio brano, che nel titolo parla di una tempesta portatile, o se vogliamo tascabile, racconta in pochi secondi appunto l'arrivo di una tempesta. Inizialmente ci sono misteriose raffiche di vento sempre più violente e tuoni improvvisi. Al centro c'è un'illusione di calma, anche se disturbata da strani suoni e forse tentativi di fare un discorso o di iniziare un canto. Tutto viene interrotto dal ritorno delle forze della natura, che però vengono immediatamente messe a tacere con un semplice gesto. Come si dice in italiano, una tempesta in un bicchiere d'acqua, ossia, come scrive Shakespeare, molto rumore per nulla. Vi ringrazio, spero che il mio piccolo brano vi piaccia, i miei complimenti anche a tutti gli altri compositori selezionati e arrivederci a presto. Ciao!
when I started to think up some ideas for Danielle's call for scores for the 15 Minutes of Fame project, I really didn't have any good ideas, so I just decided to settle on 7 pitches, and that's the reason for the title, 7 out of 12. It was a great learning experience, getting to learn how to write for the harp. Danielle, appreciate you opening the score call opportunity. And Rob, thank you and Vox Novus for all you do for your fellow musicians. I hope all of you enjoy the concert. I think my arm is hurting.
There, everybody. Wonderful pieces. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much fun.
Thank you, Danielle.
Awesome work.
Great playing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Fantastic
it was
performance.
Great. It was great.
Wow,
Better than I
fantastic.
expected.
So, let me just let me ask my general question. Like, how does everybody like the sort of format of virtual concert and sort of 15 Minutes of Fame and everything in general?
You need to meet someone.
I can start. This is my first 15 Minutes of Fame concert that I participated in, so I can't say too much about that. But as far as the whole virtual concert format goes, honestly, I think it's a godsend, especially in opening up accessibility to be able to access these kinds of events. At least from my personal experience, I've been able to tune in for more concerts in the past couple of years than I've been able to actually physically go to. So I think it's great. I think it's great that this opened up, and again, for accessibility purposes too, I think this needs to be more of a thing in the future.
Anybody else?
On the same vein of it being accessible, I was recently talking to someone about how time is a big factor on what is accessible nowadays, because people don't have much time, have 2 or 3 jobs, and just really cannot invest time in listening to music. So these little snippets of great ideas that all of you have shown today, I think that's the best way to introduce people to this world of new music. Just short, very little, very compact, but still great.
Yeah, and that actually brings up another point as well, which is that I think there is this sort of idea about concert music that it got to be like the pieces have to be long. They have to it's like we think like symphonies or whatever, the kind of thing. And I think that the fact is that it's not that the longer piece is inherently more impactful, or more. It's like the difference between like a novel and a short story. A short story can have every bit as much impact and as much value as a novel. And I think the same goes in music. I think that just because it's 1 minute long doesn't mean it doesn't have anything to say. It's like I think that this kind of event can help. I'm hearing my voice a little bit. I don't know. I know it's okay. It's just me. I really get the impression that with this kind of event, it will also encourage people to write short form pieces and know that there will be an audience, that people will be able to, and there's also the fact is that because they are short pieces, it means you can also have lots of more composers featured in a single concert, which is always great because it probably means more diversity of points of view, more diversity of kind of artistic voices. I think that's great.
And Sebastian, you and Mike have been a frequent image coming up to us over the internet. What do you think of this particular 15 minutes of fame with harp?
Perhaps 15 minutes of fame, first of all, in general, and the way that we're doing these online concerts now. I only got to know 15 minutes of fame during the pandemic, and when this whole online concert thing started to happen. But before that, you guys did concerts in Janusz Church in New York, and while live music is fantastic, what we get to do with these online concerts is get all the composers together and talk to each other and exchange ideas and talk with the audience, and these are many things that are not impossible but much more difficult to organize if the concert is on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean for me. So yeah, that's certainly great, and that also applies to this one with the harp music.
I mean, all I can say is I can just echo everything everyone else is saying. These are really fantastic opportunities with composers, obviously, because you're putting a small bit idea out there of what they're about. And the fact that we can have people from all over the world get together, hear each other's music, talk. It's a really relaxed environment. And the harp performance, Danielle, out of sight. Out of sight. It's just, a friend of mine, a tuba player that I work with, we were talking after rehearsal a couple of weeks ago. He said, "Man, that looks like just good, clean fun." when he was watching it, he said, "Oh, everybody's having a good time. Performances are great, and everybody gets to give it a quick expression, of your ideas." And I want to echo what you said, Josh, earlier. I'm just grateful and honored to be among the collection, just hang out with you guys and just have a musical exchange. It's great.
I'm really happy that that's becoming kind of like sort of the thrust of this, because when I was doing the concerts at Jan Hus and like telling everybody like, oh, come on down and so forth, it's I guess it is serious music, right? We as artists, we take a lot of care in what we do. But that doesn't mean that it has to be stuffy. I guess, is that the right word I'm looking for? I don't, but you know what I mean. It should be a community, and this is a great way for audiences to get to know our music and us, and for us to collaborate together. And, with that said, I should also talk about the other interesting format, doing it online, we get to connect to people all over the world here. But we also get to do it like in the chat. Like we have several of the composers here. Wait, here's Anneloes. She's typing away in the comments. And another 15-minute fame veteran, PK, where I'm looking. Greg is here. and and Michael was so, anyway, we try to connect as many people as we can online so people can sort of put a face and an image to the music. But, it's also this sort of dialogue that we're trying to create with the audiences. And it's this interesting format in which you can listen and sort of respond and be able to, I don't know, enjoy the music in a different way. Does that make any sense? I don't know if I'm being clear with that. I always think of it as like, in a jazz concert, people like, hoot and holler and clap and do all that. So this is kind of a way for people to do so without it, interrupting Danielle's wonderful performance. And I,
comfortable, have a snack.
exactly.
You're not always constantly visible on stage.
And what do you think, Danielle?
I thought it was great, and I don't mind not using my harp, so I like the flexibility of doing online events because like my kid's sleeping right now, I don't have to get a babysitter. There's a lot fewer logistics for me. Plus, I get to learn a bunch of fun music, work with a bunch of composers, so it's really the best of all worlds.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm also a big advocate of. I wish we could all transport into the room where you are and listen to it live. It's definitely a treat. But if we can't, I think this is a good second best. And so, Daniel, how about for you? So this is the first time you've been part of 15 Minutes of Fame, and you worked with composers a lot online. Did you feel like this was just an extension? If it was different? I mean, how did you feel about the project?
I don't know, it was cool. The only difference between the work that I usually do and this is that I didn't really have the opportunity or the time necessarily to workshop the pieces directly with the composers. So that's kind of the second step in what I usually do in my collaborations. But I also had the advantage of, I had 50 pieces to choose from, so I could really sort through and find the ones that I could learn in the length of time I have to learn it. There were a lot of great pieces there. There were some I would have been glad to program had I had more time to be able to learn it, but just with the time constraints, I had to go through and just say, okay, this one I can learn in the amount of time, this one I can, this one's great, but we'll table that for later. And I still have all the music. I can reach out to the composers later if there's ones I didn't select that I'd like to perform later. I always reach out to composers before they're programming their music, but it was cool. And I have more composers in my network. It's great to meet a lot of you. There's some of you I've worked with before, some of you I haven't, that I'm excited to hopefully reach out and do some more work together.
And what did you think about the sort of piece length?
I like it. There's a lot of music that's probably too long. I say that carefully. I mean, there are several of the pieces I was like, dang, this is too short. Like, you want it to go on, and I think that's a cool feeling because a lot of the time I feel like the music's too long, where it's like, it keeps going on, and it's difficult, and it keeps going on kind of thing. So I think it's nice to start with a short idea, and then you can always expand it later. So I know a few of the composers have reached out to me about doing a director's cut version of the music to be able to continue those ideas, which is great. So, but I like 1 minute. I can commit to 1 minute for sure.
Well, I think I think you said it right there. It's a great introduction and sort of introducing audiences to the music in general, because there's a huge plethora of contemporary music that people are writing all out there, and it can range in lots of different styles and aesthetics. So it's a great way to sort of gear yourself up to what your personal aesthetics like, and then that's an introduction to finding out more about the composer or more about the musician or whatever you like to do.
Yeah, and I tried to program a variety when I went through the music, because that's something I like to do for audiences, especially because like you said, there's such a huge diversity in new music. Like, it's not one genre. There's so many different kinds of music being written today. So not everyone's going to like everything, but I believe that there is music for everyone. Like everyone can find a living composer whose music that they like. So when I program concerts, I try to do a variety, just so there's always something everyone can walk away saying, ooh, I loved that piece. Or I loved all the pieces. You never know.
Well, and as much as there was a huge variety in these pieces, I felt some themes sort of coming out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We had the snow theme going on. Rain to snow, snow to ice, ice to water.
And
Which is perfect. We got another snowstorm yesterday.
Right.
Here in Ann Arbor. Spring was coming. Now it feels a little further away.
We had both rain and snow and like the torrential stuff earlier today here too. So I thought it was very apropos.
Perfect timing.
Right.
And then we had the storm thing coming in because spring's coming, which means storms. I grew up in Texas, so I'm used to the big thunderstorms, tornadoes, all the good stuff.
So I want to also encourage everybody who's watching, if you have a question or any sort of comment and so forth, feel free to blast it out. Now I've also got my eyes here. Forgive me, I'm multitasking. There you go,
Yay, Texas.
Danielle. I want to say I love PK's piece. PK has been chatting a storm himself. So awesome, thank you. Any other comments or suggestions or things from people? No? Well, all right, that's right. PK does live in Austin. That's how could I forget? So anyway, Danielle, I want to thank you so much for being a part of this project, and just there's a lot of effort that goes into the both just the administration and so forth and everything, but also just looking over all the pieces that you received and going through it. One of the other things that I love about this project and is I feel very grateful that I've dealt with so many musicians like you that put a lot of honest effort into reviewing the pieces, taking a look at them, and I think as a composer myself, I can tell you that we write these pieces and throw them out there, and sometimes it feels like it's they just go out into the
or the performers are like, we'll play Mozart instead.
Right, like they don't even get read or looked at or considered and so forth, and I can attest. For all the musicians that have been part of this project, that's not the case. They really, it's an honest effort and it's great. So anyway, I just want, and you perform beautifully. So I just want to thank you for that.
It's been an honor to be part of the project. This is when I think I watched Drew Hosler's Do the Same Thing, because I play with him in the Blank Experiment, and as I was like, ooh, that's my mission. It's like so in line with what I do. I was very excited to connect with you and be part of it.
I appreciate that, and I want to also encourage all composers to check out her website and write a piece for harp. I think I might do it myself. You do some excellent work, and also just to mention everything that goes on in the background. The 15 Minutes of Fame is a Vox Novus project. We have all the administrative stuff that's going on through Music Avatar and Composer Site and all that. And it's also brought to you by Virtual Concert Halls. There's a big, giant administrative team and engineers there that's also helps to make these things happen. And let's see, wait, I've got a little, let's see. And with that said, I think we can bring our show to an end. Guys, everyone, I want to thank you again for being a part of this project. We've got some more calls in the hopper getting ready to go out, so I encourage you to keep writing, and we'll play as many 1-minute pieces as you can write. Thank you so much. I'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
See you.